We go. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Houston Community College VAST program podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is January 25th, 2024, and this is another episode of Jaws Coffee Chat with Jennifer A. Whitaker. We have our hosts from the Houston Community College with us, Sue Maraska. And we also have special guest Lisa Parkinson. Of course, I am Elizabeth Oberkirsch, otherwise known as EJ, a virtual assistant from Oh My VA Admin Services. We always like to give a special thanks to some great folks for replaying our shows and podcasts on their platform. Zach Clayton of the PACT channel, Jay Stoyan of the Disability channel, and Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios. We definitely appreciate their support and participation. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the social media pages, groups, our YouTube channel, or wherever it is you came to find out about us today. And I am going to turn it on directly over to Miss Sue. Take it away, unless Jennifer has something to put in. All right, Miss Sue, take it away.
Thank you, EJ, and thank you, Jennifer, for giving us this opportunity to be able to share and promote our Houston Community College, not only our VAST Academy, but also other services and programs that we offer and services to students with disabilities. So we're so glad that you created HCC AbilityVAST spot for us twice a month. It's every other Thursday. What is it? Second and fourth Thursday of every month. So we're excited about, I forget how many we've done now. We've been doing this since September. So we're so excited. Thank you for that opportunity. Today, we have a very special guest. Lisa Parkinson is one of our wonderful Ability Services ADA counselors here at Houston Community College. And of course, she's going to share with you what is the process if you have a disability and you're going to college at Houston Community College, what the process is to register and to get accommodations and what are some of the accommodations and things like that. So we're going to talk about all the great accommodations and services that we provide to students to support them while they're in college. And of course, the VAST Academy, for those that may not have seen our podcast before today, is a program. It's a post-secondary program for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities, 18 to 25. And we offer an occupational skills, career, and college readiness certificate, continuing ed, and then we help them with employment when they finish. We also help them transition into other programs at HCC or other colleges and universities where they can get certificates and associate degrees. But VAST is a place for them to start right out of high school to give them that support and those foundational skills so that they can achieve their dreams, whatever that is for them. So that's what the VAST Academy does. But we don't want to only talk about VAST. We want to talk about Houston Community College as a whole and all the wonderful services that are there for any college student, but specifically today for those that have disabilities so that they can get those accommodations. So I welcome Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for coming today. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's good to be here. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So I actually watched your November 16th podcast, and I'm thinking, Sue said it all. I don't know what more I can contribute to this conversation. You did a really good job explaining what services we have, how we're connected to community resources, but as far as the initial accommodations process, yes, a lot of students may not know it exists. Back when I was in college in the 90s, I didn't know it existed, and it probably didn't have a whole lot to it, but we do have essentially a lot of the similar types of accommodations students might have been used to, let's say in high school. The difference is we don't modify things. So you were right when you said before, there's no modification to the curriculum or anything like that. We're not giving modified exams unless there's something that needs to be changed up a little bit, but for use of assistive technology. But because students need to come to us, we don't know they're here, and it's hard for them to know that we're here. So the good news is instructors do have I don't know what, a paragraph or more on their syllabus to just mention if you need accommodations. There was a template that the college itself said, hey, this needs to be on every syllabus. So students should, check their syllabus and read it thoroughly, because there's information there. But I know we don't always read everything, and students don't always know what all these departments mean. What does ADA mean? What do these acronyms mean? So for us, we hope that students will learn about us through our website. They'll learn about us. We sit out at registration events on those Saturdays. Sometimes Student Life will put together any kind of thing, mental health month, suicide awareness, so we've got tables out there as well, trying to promote or just bring an awareness of our services. So when students do come to college and they're not aware of accommodations in this setting, then they may only hear about it through their instructor. If their instructor is good enough to say in class, if you guys need accommodations, please give me your lessons. So students may not know what that means. A lot of our students come from high school with their parents right behind their back, just saying, we need to continue these accommodations for you in college. I know that they exist. I don't know what it looks like, but I need, let's go ahead and get this process rolling. So for us, the first thing a student needs to do is apply, because until they have an HCC ID number, there's not a whole lot we can do, internally in our systems, but we certainly can tell them what the steps are. So we do want students to have that HCC ID number ready. We have now, thankfully, we're a little bit behind the curve, I think, when it comes to how much we can use technology to benefit us and benefit others. So it was COVID, I think, that finally brought our intake forms into an electronic, process. So we're able to email that link to students so they can complete our intake forms from wherever, it's easy for them to do it. I did have a student just today, though, tell me that when he did it on his phone, he thought it submitted, and I said, it did not go through. There's nothing in my database that shows you even, showed up, or, so I don't know that using your phone is always, I don't know what the deal was. Maybe it had a bad connection or something. So there's still going to be little technological glitches here and there. But that form is first and foremost, we have a lot for them to read about their rights and their responsibilities as a student. The rights being, you have the right to equal access. You have the right to the same jobs, programs, services, whatever it is that the college provides. We don't discriminate. This is clearly an opportunity for us to get to know you. We want to have, a documentation of your disability or diagnosis on file so that we know how or what we're accommodating. And it's all stored in our counseling confidential database. It is not part of their academic record. So some of our students have that feeling that I don't want to be labeled, because yes, in high school, or they had the special ed, and then when the teachers got that 504 or they got that ARD, it said all what the disability was, and plus what accommodations they needed. And this is, again, I say separately from their academic record. So there's no indicator, no anything that the student uses accommodations if you're looking at a transcript or something. And we tell students, we're trying to figure out when we meet with you, what accommodations are going to be reasonable and appropriate, because our goal is to remove barriers. We're trying to provide equal access. This is not a letter to guarantee your success, although we want all of our students to be successful. This letter is not that, because in high school, it's all about get them through, how can we modify, what can we do to make them pass? They got to graduate, And so in college, we explain how you're here because you want to be here, not because you have to be here under any laws. And so the laws do change a little bit when it comes to what type of services a college is supposed to provide. So a lot of that information students don't necessarily know about either, unless they somehow attended a transition meeting, because some of the ISDs, and I'm sure I'll be getting an invite again soon, because annually Spring Branch ISD invites us. Now they're virtual, so that we can sit in at their parent transition meetings, explain what's the process from coming out of high school, going into college. So that information is getting out there. It's hopefully more, prominent than maybe just looking in your syllabus. So in that rights section, they should be really clear on what rights they have as a student with their diagnosis, disability, or confidentiality. And then we have the responsibility section. So because this is very student driven, and because this is optional for them to use, it's not a requirement, they make that appointment with us after we've received their documentation of their diagnosis, their disability, what have you. And then we're telling them in our meeting, as well as in that intake form, we at HCC do this semesterly. And the reason we do it semesterly is because we know their classes are going to change each semester. So we like to check to see a couple of things. Where are you taking your classes? What's the modality? Are they online? Are they hybrid? Are they in person? Is there a lab? You're going to need to use a testing center. Oh, is everything going to be an online exam? Because that helps the spinning wheel in our mind. Okay, how we're going to have to accommodate for these particular types of classes. But also students come to us with a variety of disabilities. So let's say a student has a math learning disorder or something, and they needed a calculator, but this semester they're not taking any math classes. So we'll have that opportunity. Oh, you're taking math this time. We need to make sure we get that basic 4-function calculator on there. So having that semesterly communication is key to us being effective and everything in our accommodations to a student. But sometimes diagnoses change. Sometimes things improve. Sometimes things worsen. Sometimes it's just a change altogether. And so we want to know from the student, what changes are there in place now? How is this impacting you academically? What are some things that the college can do to help remove those barriers? And so we need that supporting documentation to tell us what those changes are, what's new or different or worse or better. And this can be mental health. This could be medical. This could be a new ADHD diagnosis or a new learning disorder diagnosis. There's no, it's a pretty open area. So we're not necessarily ruling things out to say, no, we can't accommodate that. If it fits under the law, which the law itself has become pretty broad, even if it's a situation where a student might have cancer, but currently they're in remission, they still qualify under ADA. You have lupus, and sometimes it flares up and sometimes it doesn't. You still qualify under ADA. So, really what we tell students is, if you're dealing with something, let us talk to you. Let us take a look at it, because chances are we can accommodate you. And so within that responsibilities piece as well, students have to understand that when they're meeting with us and we create the letter, the accommodation letter, we then create it as a PDF. It's in our database. We turn it into a PDF that we email them to them. So it's their responsibility, again, to actually provide it to their instructors. So in high school, they're used to somebody else doing everything, getting the letters to the teachers. And in some college and universities, they actually have a different type of software program, which maybe one day we'll move to, where a student indicates that they're interested in accommodations, and there's a little back and forth communication about what those accommodations should be. And then inside the system, like for us, we have PeopleSoft. So within that system, a letter generates and it automatically goes to each instructor. We're not there yet. So we actually have our students provide the letter to their instructor so the instructor can review it. And if there's any questions at all, if there's something that looks like it's going to fundamentally alter or interfere with a course requirement, we would want them to contact us and have a discussion. I like to try to do it the other way around. I like to, if I don't know the program, I don't know the course, I don't know what's involved with it, before I create an accommodation letter, I need to have a conversation with that instructor or that program director or something to find out, how is this course set up? What are the essential core functions of it? If this student is used to having an accommodation that, I don't know, say their extra time on test, does that also apply if they're in clinicals? They're on an environment somewhere and they have to take the pulse and do the right thing, whatever. And then we find, no, they can't have extra time for something like that. So that then makes us either think outside the box, or we just have to kind of change up or modify a little bit what the accommodations are. So once we know or have a good understanding of what the course is, what the program is, how the accommodations won't interfere with things like essential course requirements or functions, then it's quite easy for us to, in that interactive process, that interview with our student, to figure out what accommodations we can provide. So that letter only states what the accommodations are. It does not list the diagnosis, the disability, or anything like that. The instructor will see the name of the counselor that wrote the letter. They'll have our contact information on that letter. And then there's this disclaimer piece on the letter itself that tells a student, if you're feeling like you're being discriminated against, or, you're not being accommodated or what have you, you have rights. And now they've changed their name. The Office of Institutional Equity is now the Office of Equal Opportunity in Title IX. So it's a longer, name, but we give them the website now, the link there. So if they wanted to file their own complaint, they certainly can do that. They can start with the counselor that wrote the letter, because it would be our goal to reach out to the instructor, find out what's the issue, where's the confusion, what is it that you're not understanding about this letter, what can we do to help support the student, and try to get it resolved as quickly and as local of a level as possible. But nobody answers to us at this. We are nobody's boss here at the college. So that's why when instructors aren't responsive or they don't know what to do, we just sometimes just kind of go up the chain a little bit. Well, you have a department chair or you have a dean, and we tell students, worst case scenario, if you want to take it to that higher level office, feel free to do that, because they'll absolutely investigate it. They'll usually come back down to my level and try to find out what happened, what did you say, what was on the letter, what didn't happen, to get more into where there's a breakdown in communication, or was it just a flagrant disregard, and what's the deal there. But thankfully that doesn't happen very often. Our faculty members are pretty good. They're pretty savvy. They know, what the accommodation letter means. They know how important it is. They know to reach out to us if they don't understand something or they have questions. And I'll find a lot of times that an instructor that I didn't even write the letter for a student, they get a letter from another counselor and like, I don't know. They'll call me because they already have a rapport, or they've already worked with me in the past. And then I'll just explain what I understand the accommodation letter to mean. But if there's something special written on it and I don't know why, I don't know the student, I say, well, you can talk to the counselor. Now, granted, the counselor is not going to tell you what the disability is or this disorder is. So she can't really tell you why she wrote it, because right now we only have female ADA counselors. So I'm using, so anyway, the counselor can't really tell you why that accommodation is written, but can explain to you what it means, how to implement it. Mm-hmm. And if you need support with it, who you can go to for support. So the process is actually pretty easy, pretty simple. A lot of our students are relieved, after they have gone through it, because I tell them, look, this first time you do it is the most intensive, long hour meeting that you're going to have, because after this, each semester thereafter, we don't have to do intake all over again. I don't have to learn you and your needs. We've built this, we know this. And the other cool thing about it, using our database, if the student decided to go to a whole different college within their system, that ADA counselor can get into our database, see what's already been done, see what, diagnosis, whatever is needed, and pick up where I left off. Make a letter very
I didn't realize that they could do that. I thought it was only HCC, so others can see it too.
No, just within HCC.
Oh, within HCC. Okay.
Yeah. So central counselors can see what I've done, Southwest, etc. So
now,
the
Lisa,
student doesn't have to go.
One thing I don't recall if you touched on, I don't think you did, but I want to stress the most important thing with these students, and if the parents are even advocating for the students, they have to advocate for themselves. They have to self-identify. They have to come in, to register, like you said, for the services and turn in the documentation and everything. And then even when they get the letter, that letter is not a letter that you're going to give to the instructor. They have to pick it up, correct? They have to give the letter to the instructor, because I remember hearing about a student one time that said they never got their accommodations, but they never picked up the letter. And it's that's the difference in college from high school, because, you know, in high school, I think they're used to a lot of these things with the IEPs and the ARDs and everything being done for them. But in college, they have to be more self-advocating, correct? That's
Yes.
the thing.
And we counselors, we do our best to try to reach out to our students like in between semesters. I just sent my like blast email on January 4th, BCCing everyone to say, I noticed that you're registered, because I'll look, are they registered? Yes. Registered? Yeah. Registered? No. You know, and I'll say, if you're going to be seeking accommodations this semester, please let me know so that we can work on your accommodations. If you're going to be taking classes at another campus and you want to meet with that counselor, I'm happy to give you that contact information. So we do our best to try to remind them, but yes, it ultimately is their responsibility. And when they don't necessarily pick up a letter from us anymore, because we're not doing it paper, once it's signed, you know, they can come in, we have a mouse, they sign it. If it's a virtual meeting, I ask, do you give me permission to sign on your behalf? And I'd sign on their behalf, and I indicate such with my initials that I'm the one that signed it, and it's sent to them as a PDF. So then they have that easy responsibility to then just email it to their instructors. If they're in an online class and they have to do it through Canvas, it's just as easy. You make an email in Canvas, attach the letter there, and the instructor. All these instructors, it's so funny, they have different preferences in how they want to receive this letter. I thought that for the most part, a lot of our online instructors using Canvas want them to communicate through the Canvas email feature. But I just got an email from a teacher or an instructor like 2 days ago and said, this student, I wrote, because the student's like, this teacher hasn't told me anything. I don't know if she got my letter. And I wrote the instructor and I said, hey, Professor so-and-so, you know, students concerned as I haven't received a response. If you received this accommodation letter, I'm attaching it, you know, for your convenience. Let me know if there's any questions you have. And this instructor wrote back and said, I made it clear, it's in my syllabus, that all communication needs to go through my HCC email and not through Canvas. This way I can keep up, because she has a certain way she wants it stated, the subject line. And so I was like, okay. And I just wrote her back, thanks for the response. So she's telling me this is how she expects it. She's also telling me now she has it, and the student was copied on that communication. So I can't tell students when they leave my office or leave our virtual meeting, you know, the best way to send it, because we do say, what's the instructor's preference? And I'm only going to go behind the student's back to send it when they ask me to. I've got students that'll come in my office, or we'll have a virtual meeting and we go through the whole gamut, accommodations. We talk about guidelines for the testing center. We do a recording agreement, whatever we need. And they decide, I don't need this for my history class. I really only need it for math. So far be it from me to go behind their back and send it off to all their instructors. That's not my place. So they know up front. Now, do they forget? Absolutely. Do they come to me this semester and say, Miss Lisa, am I supposed to get a new letter? Or can I just use my one from fall? And so I have to remind them, we want to do a new letter. Let me check your schedule, you know. And yes, the accommodations might not change, but our instructors are kind of primed to look for which semester that letter is stated. So have an instructor taken a letter from a previous semester and accommodated? Yes, they have. Is there anything wrong with that? Not really, not legally. You know, you're more apt to get in trouble if you don't accommodate a student that needs it and identifies, versus accommodating a student that didn't give you, you know, the exact semester letter. So yes, very much a self-advocacy situation at the college level. That's not to say they don't have support. So we do have to remind them, we have to remind parents, you know, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We've got very supportive deans and associate deans that on the student services side that will get involved when they need to. We've got a very supportive director, and we have the ear of our legal department. You know, we have like what she likes to call herself, our friendly HCC attorney, as well as now in the Office of Equal Opportunity in Title IX, we've got managers there that are very supportive for us. So they actually make our job easier because we don't have any authority over these instructors. When we run into complicated issues, confusing situations, we can punt the issue to our director or higher up and let them, give us the guidance, or they just take the reins and say, hey, instructor, this is what needs to be done. And that really helps generally everybody. So that's what I love about a supportive.
And Lisa, I know not every single campus has an ability services counselor necessarily at that campus, but there are counselors assigned to every one of HCC's colleges, so that if they're going to Southwest College or Northwest College or Southeast College, you're with the Northwest College. But if they're transferring to another campus, I know you guys work together and you have meetings, so you can help them with transitioning when they move to another college. But they do have those, but they have to go we call it ability services, but any college of any university in the country, not just in Houston or in the state of Texas, should have ADA, disability support services, whatever they call their office, but they have to self-identify their disability to get these accommodations. And it is the law, the Americans with Disabilities Act, it is the law, but it's going to be based on their disability, based on, what accommodations that they'll be able to get. Now, I do understand that sometimes there's faculty that go above and beyond, and they're willing to do universal design for learning. And maybe they provide study guides to all their students or notes, or they do certain things, maybe that small little changes that if they do it for all the students, it would be a natural accommodation for that student that might need that. Not everybody, though, of course, does that, and they don't have to. So that letter is very important because that's the only way they're going to be insured, right, to get that accommodation. They have to have that letter.
That's true. And universal design is great. I wish more of our instructors embraced it. The few that know about it, and it's quite interesting that they do, when they see a student with extra time for a test or something, and it says 1 1/2 what the other students get, or double what the students get. So they'll contact me and say, I already have a test that it's only got 10 questions on it. It only takes about 30 minutes to get it done, but I already accommodate everybody. I already give everybody an hour. And I said, oh, that's nice. I'm so glad you do that. But this student, because of the way the letter is written, is going to need 1.5 hours or 2 hours, depending on what the accommodation is. So whereas, yes, they're doing a great thing for the class as a whole, they need to not have the mindset that it excludes then having to do the accommodations, because it doesn't.
They're still going to have to do an accommodation. Exactly.
Yes,
now,
yes.
could you share? I might have done it in the last one, but you probably would know better. What are some of the common accommodations? I know it depends on their disability, what the accommodation is, but what are some? I know like extra time is one of the big ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of our students come, and yes, definitely depending on the disability. And I can kind of give a correlation. So someone that comes to us with ADHD, or some type of communicative, learning disability, they might not be able to focus very well or for very long. They might need to be allowed to audio record class lectures. Some of my students with learning disabilities, they need to hear it again, want to be allowed to audio record class lectures. Yes, they're probably going to need extended time on quizzes, extended time on tests, whether it's in person or an online course. A lot of times my students that have on-campus classes needing extended time, I tell them quite naturally, you're not going to be able to stay in class past class time to finish your exam. So that's where the testing center comes into play. And it all has to be done by appointment. So it requires communication, you again, self-advocating, communicating with your instructor, figuring out what days, not so much the time. The instructors don't generally care about what time they take their test. They more care about what they need to get it done by such and such date, because that instructor's got to go get it, wants to grade it, might want to go over it in class. So yes, use of the testing center is common. A lot of our students might need to use assistive technology because they either have visual impairments or print-based, they need to use screen reading software such as Kurzweil, such as JAWS, or Fusion, which Fusion and Zoom Text are joined, and it's JAWS and Zoom text are joined, and we have a license called Fusion. So there's all kinds of different service or, special services that they already use or they're used to using. Students can come to us and say, I know this technology. This is what I've been trained on. This is what I need to use for my classes. And because the law says communication, access to communication is necessary, is required, we've got to accommodate that student so that they can use their technology. So some of the other ones, we don't have, and I wish we had the budget for paid note takers. If we could just pay some people to come sit in class, take notes for students, that would make our lives easy on one hand. But on the other, scheduling of it, making sure they're in the right room, the right student every semester, I guess there would be issues there. But we really let the, instructor kind of find who would be willing to volunteer. And then through that process, there's a couple ways that the student can get those notes. Either that volunteer can give them to the instructor and the instructor get them to the right student, or that volunteer can stop by our offices. Maybe we can make a copy and then get them to our student. But I had a couple of students says, I don't care if the volunteer knows they're for me. This way I can just kind of buddy up with it and just maybe take pictures right off their notebook and have them instantly. So note-taking assistance is one that we have use kind of consistently. But because of those weird little nuances, a lot of times instructors are putting their PowerPoints, any kind of something already inside of Canvas. So they're already available. And that makes our job so much easier, because when we put an accommodation on a letter, and then somebody from our institution, an instructor from our institution does not accommodate it, they're violating the law. And then if we've got to try to run interference, that makes our job difficult, and it's a hassle. So we're trying to make sure that, yes, they're reasonable. Yes, the instructor understands it. It's not a burden. It can't be burdensome, but there's not a whole lot, I think, that's defined as burdensome under the law. And then financially speaking, if it's a financial burden, but the way OCR looks at our institution, as large as we are, the kind of money apparently we bring in, they're like, you're not going to get away with a financial burden excuse either. So it really is a collaborative thing. But I have students that have suffered strokes. They may have a degree from way back when, and then they're here now, and they've got to vamp themselves. They got to go into a whole different career, but they don't know what. And so they can't write. Like I have a student that can't use left hand very well, very hard to communicate. So yes, typing can happen like very slowly. There's no way that he'd be able to use a speech to text. So if he were to try to talk to a computer, it would not understand him to type it correctly. So he's going to need something like extra time, double time on things. He might need to have an extension on his assignment because it might take him a little bit longer to get something done by the instructor's due date. But we can ask for early assignments. If you can open your assignment early for the student, it gives the student a little bit more time to get things done. So that's standardly what we have. I mean, there's also, depending again on the student, little specific kinds of things. That same student, I would have to say, limit the amount of speech required of this student in class, because he's not going to be able to be very clear. And if he has to do a presentation, thank goodness with the advent of technology and AI, he could actually type a script and have an AI generated voice read it out loud to everybody and still have participated and done his PowerPoint presentation. So yeah, we have to.
I'm glad you mentioned AI, because that was the big focus at Instructional Week a few weeks ago, Instructional Leaders Day and Instructional Day with faculty. We had AI experts coming in and talking and showing and how that impacts students in college and faculty. And, more and more students are going to use AI. And I know some faculty are like, we're worried about that. But just like when the internet first came out, and, a lot of different things come out but actually it was mentioned more than once that, those with just certain disabilities, this is actually going to be a good thing for them, the AI. There's a lot of AI types of software and technology now that will help people that have specific disabilities. So I'm glad to see that there's some great tools out there now with AI. And of course, we have that whole AI, artificial intelligence department under the Center of Excellence in Digital Technology. They have I think it might be the first and only one in the country of bachelor's degree in artificial intelligence. So we have a class called Today's Technology. It's just a continuing ed fun elective class that it's open to any college student. Most of the students in there, though, are either VAST alumni or VAST students, but we have a few that are not. And this semester, they're going to actually have one of the AI folks from HCC to do a project with them, along with the 3D makerspace. Yeah, so that's kind of exciting, that we're going to be doing some of that new technology. I guess we're getting low. I know we're getting low on time now. I think
10 minutes, 10-minute warning.
Do you have to do your ad or something, AJ? Or
Nope, I'll just close it out. So you've got about another 5-7 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I think that I wanted to mention this, though, the time frame of when they should go in and get that turned in, and to get that accommodation letter, because if they come like the day before school starts or the week before school starts and they need a sign language interpreter, or I think there's certain accommodations that are going to require a little more time, correct?
Yeah, so
they need special type of equipment, or I know you all have those laptops at the library that some can check out also that have technology on them, but do they have to have a specific ability?
That you'll have to recheck with Norma Jean. The laptops at the time, that was pre-COVID. And those laptops now are out of warranty, and I think they're not able to be updated. So I don't know that we have those, what they call ADA laptops anymore. However, the library does have a different newer sets of laptop computers that a lot of the assistive technology, you don't have to have it downloaded onto your hard drive. You're going to be able to access it through, web extensions, or inside of Microsoft 365, there's going to be read aloud, or what do they call immersive reader? There's going to be the dictate feature. So those particular laptops, I don't know how many there are across the system now, and they may have pulled them, but what also happens? Student will check out, and this is any student, will check out a laptop and then forget to turn it in. So that makes our supply really, really low. So I don't think they have a ton of those across the system, but it is a first come, first serve situation as well. But when a student's needing an ASL interpreters, or they're needing cart riders in their class, it is a good idea to get to us a couple of weeks prior to the start of your class. They have to be registered first. And so sometimes our students register almost last minute, and then that's when they come to us for accommodations. Until they're actually registered, they're technically not a student. So they need to be registered. Now, they don't have to wait to register to start our intake process, my forms, and get me their documentation. No, let's get that done early, so that by the time they are registered, and if they are needing an interpreter or they are needing cart services, we can check their schedule, because we've got to get it back to she's our interim and supervisor over these interpreting and captioning services, because it's her responsibility to figure out, okay, this is your class, these are the days, these are the times, and get somebody in those rooms. When it is ASL interpreters or cart riders into the classroom, we have to make sure that there's enough seats in there, so I have to check with my campus management, and I say, is there an extra chair or table set up in here? Or if it's interpreters, I need 2 chairs in there. And we got to try to make this happen. It's great if it's before classes start, but we know that it doesn't always happen, early enough. And unfortunately, to the students' disadvantage, if they don't come to us before their classes start, they could literally be going into class, no way of communicating, not hearing what's being said. They're present, they're doing their best to read lips or whatever, but they're missing out on some of the information because that didn't get set up early. And that's just, it's unfortunate.
Well, thank you, Lisa. This has been I know we could have probably more than one show on this, because there's so many different types of accommodations, but to know for sure, they need to self-identify and come in to the Ability Services office and turn in their documentation, sit down with a counselor like you, and find out. And of course, you also need to know what classes they're taking too, of course.
Yes.
But just so that they can get this set up early, because they're really not doing themselves a good service if they don't self-identify, because they're not going to just get those accommodations unless they do that. And there's so much support out there. We're leveling the playing field, and I know on our next podcast on February 8th, we're going to have Dr. Becky Hari, who is our ADA lead counselor as well. And she's going to talk more about mental health and counseling services, because y'all provide that as well, correct?
Yes, yes, we do. And if we can't do it because they need something long-term, something intensive, they want a diagnosis, we would refer them to our community resources. But yeah, we're here for that. Yes.
So thank you for coming today, but thank you for all that you do, because I know that you go above and beyond to serve all of our students, and I know you've helped us a lot, and you've helped many of our students and families. So thank you, Lisa. You're awesome.
Oh, well, thank you, Sue. And I love you, and I love your team. And yeah, we have VAST here at Spring Branch, and yeah, I just love the team, and I really support what you guys do. It's an amazing, program, and especially for our students that bridge over and then do come and see me because they then need accommodations for their college classes. So it's exciting.
This has been great. There's a lot of information that it's amazing to me, for somebody who hasn't had to use these type facilities, that there's so much has changed since the days that I was in college, when we just had carbon copy note takers. And that was the extent of it, maybe an interpreter for the hearing impaired. So this has been amazing. It's very enlightening to continue to hear all the different aspects that are out there for students these days. Do either of you have any events coming up that you would like to announce, or any special announcements? I always like to give everybody an opportunity.
I have the Real Abilities Film Festival, of course, is in Houston. They have them in other cities also. It's REEL, Real Abilities Film Festival. And people with disabilities, different disabilities, have these wonderful documentary short films and long films, and it's all free, but you have to register, and you go to the movie theater and you see all these different films. But to help promote that, we at Houston Community College and VAST, we always co-host an event on campus to introduce our students and faculty and staff to the Real Abilities Film Festival. And we show some short films, and then we have discussions afterward. And it's just a way to open up the discussion and see and be inspired by some of these folks that are in these films. And then hopefully get more interest of going to the Real Abilities Film Festival. It's not just a film festival anymore. It's now an art festival.
Oh, wow.
And there's art exhibits and music things going on all around Houston. And it's already going on. It's going on for February, starting in February through the whole month of February. So we're excited that we're going to be hosting on February 15th and February 21st, right here at Houston Community College Central. We're going to be hosting our little film festival screening. It's kind of like a screening. We're going to show
preview and screening. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing that. So we're excited about that.
Excellent. Nice. Makes me wish I was in Texas.
Yeah. and we counselors, because I know you mentioned in November, Sue, that we do workshops and stuff. We actually have on our website, we have a calendar, and we put, the powers that be, put in our workshops and different little trainings and stuff that we host throughout the semester. Could be anything from time management, stress management, to, mental health awareness, suicide prevention, just all kinds of different little workshops that we counselors, we carve out the time and we do this presentation. And drug and alcohol awareness prevention program, we'll do some of those semesterly. So just go to our counseling website, and it usually is on the front page, but if they'll just click on our little events, they can see the list of things that we're going to be doing this semester.
And isn't there even like an emergency fund now that you guys have spearheaded in your area?
There is it's for our basic needs. And right now, the funds just, they come in little at a time, or, oh, great, we have this great amount of funds, and it drizzles. So yes, if students complete that basic needs questionnaire and they're telling us kind of what their needs are, we can ask for them. Right now, it's a gift card to Walmart, $50, $100 or something. The financial coaches have swooped to the rescue. So that goes through financial aid. They may have emergency funds. We don't have a separate budget for funding anybody in these emergency situations, but we can always try to inquire and see where there might be funds. Community resources will sometimes have funds to help them pay their light bills, or if they're close to eviction or something like that. So that's a lot of times where they might get funding.
Well, you all are I'm so excited and happy that we have this. I'm proud of our college and that we have these counselors. The counseling department, but specifically those that are working like you with their students with disabilities, and all of these services, counseling, advising. There's also, I think, a food scholarship program. I know that's through student services, and almost like a grocery store kind
It
of
is.
sense,
Yeah, we have
food
one on our
bank.
campus.
Yeah, the food bank. So, students that are struggling, there's a lot that resources and then also our counselors like yourself can refer students to different resources if there's specific needs that we don't provide out in the community. Like you said, suicide prevention and things like that too, right? And
Yes.
the hotline numbers and all the different resources in the community. So thank you so much for coming today. I'm so happy you were here, that you were able to join
Time went by fast.
Yes, it
Great to be here.
did. All right. Well, once again, this has been a JAWS Coffee Chat podcast sponsored by Jennifer A. Whitaker. I'm so glad to have Sue and Lisa with us here today for the VAST program, Houston Community College VAST program, among other topics. And again, our special thanks to Zach Clayton of the PAC Channel, Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, and Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios for replaying our podcasts on their platforms. That's always appreciated and very helpful. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share our channels, our pages, our website, which for Jen, for Jennifer A. Whitaker, is jensbooksandmore.com. And that will give you an idea of all the other podcasts that we sponsor as well. So until next time, which as Sue mentioned would be February 8th, we'll be back with some more information from Houston Community College. So until then, we wish you productive and enjoyable weeks. Take care and be healthy.